Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for the 12th of November 1983. And we are moving right along. JYD visiting a young person in a children's hospital is the first segment. Basically turned into a music video and a news piece combined. It's just a sign that JYD is over to a completely different level, and he is, for lack of a better term, a guy who is a star in the area. We see Butch Reed and King Cobra discussing the jumping of King Cobra. Basically, he says that he has made Jim Neidhart, and he is a guy who is really a big deal. He says that King Cobra deserved the punishment because of the involvement with JYD, basically putting a lot of blame on that whole thing. And ultimately, George Weingroff and I think it's Randy Barber. I know his last name is Barber. I think it's Randy. Are the adversaries for the tag team champions here. Roll-ups early by Weingroff, who kind of squares off with Neidhart, and Neidhart's a little surprised at the aggression there. We kind of then see a couple of shots, and ultimately a couple of tag-offs, kick, and ultimately some hard shots along the middle line, and ultimately a couple of elbow drops missed by Weingroff. Meanwhile, Butch Reed manages to tighten up on his adversary, and we kind of see a little bit of, maybe, I guess you'd say, tag offs. We see some headbutts, or basically using Neidhart's head as a battering ram, for lack of a better term. Big body slam by Neidhart, and we again see Butch Reed with a couple of bear hugs by Neidhart, followed by backbreakers by Reed. That's where I was going. And then we kind of see a press slam by Reed after making, I guess you'd say, kind of a blind tag, although more of a behind the back tag to Neidhart, who hits a Samoan drop, and away we go. Victory there for the tag team champions. Crusher Darsaw and Nikolai Volkov are up next. Volkov is not used to this, but he's facing a guy who I think at most has maybe one defeat at the hands of Junkyard Dog at this point. Volkov, though, has also been on his own tear of terror. And then we do see more just advancing stuff. I mean, November and December of 83, kind of where we begin to see the area start to heat up a bit. Hard shots by Khrushchev, and Nikolai Volkov kicks the tar out of his adversary, ultimately, and then we kind of see a couple of headbutts, and ultimately we see Volkov managing a body slam or two, bear hug by Khrushchev. Khrushchev manages to do everything he can to keep everything under control. A long bear hug, kind of a boring deal. They get about 60 seconds, 75 seconds out of that. Both guys kind of hook it in. Eventually, Volkov takes over with it and tries to literally squeeze the life out of his adversary. Kick to the top of the head there, and it doesn't go well for Volkov. And the shoulder tackles by Khrushchev, ultimately a pretty big deal there as well. Hard kick by Volkov, and again, he's kind of hanging around, doing a big deal there. Irish whip by Volkov, and he manages to kick right under the chin. And then we kind of see ultimately um, big backbreaker and a 1-2-3 and a victory there for Volkov. One of the first, if not the first, loss for Darsar in the territory. Road Warriors against Mike Bond and Art Cruz. Road Warriors are tag team champions from other territories at the time. I do believe. I think it's the Atlanta territory, if I remember correctly at the time. Mid Atlantic or national champions or something like that. Anyway, Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal powering their adversaries around. Not a very big deal there in any stretch of the imagination. Big kick under and a big leg drop by Animal. Animal manages to hit some shots, and ultimately Hawk managing to hit a release body slam, and again hard shots, and even Animal with an uppercut and a backbreaker there, tie up and a tag off by Hawk. Hawk manages to kind of hit a press slam, and again we kind of see the Animal hit a back elbow, and he's going pretty aggressively, and we see the Road Warriors are successful. Mr. Wrestling 2 wants to tutor, manage, or actually, he doesn't use the word manage, he uses the word coach. All the way back in 1983, Magnum TA basically says he sees a lot of future in TA. He sees him as a future major star, and he wants to provide him with the tools to be maximally successful. Then we see Wrestling 2 himself in a match, Paul Garner providing the opposition here, and then we close out with some squash matches after that. So maybe a show that just doesn't fit well. Maybe other talent's supposed to be passing through that don't come together. But we see Wrestling 2 shoulder tackles and cranking up on the head and all of that. And then he manages, Wrestling 2 that is, to get some side headlocks and ultimately hard shots, Irish whip, and a missed drop kick by the adversary. Wrestling 2 does not want to take a backward step here and does not do so. Manages to measure the knee lift, hit the knee lift, 1, 2, 3. Victory for him. Mike Jackson and Jeff Sword. I think we've seen Sword once or twice before in the area, although I don't think he's here very often. Mike Jackson has been around the area for a bit. Jackson really good with mat wrestling. Still around all these years later. I think he wrestled on Impact not too terribly long ago at like 70-some years old. Drop toe hold by him and gets some ride time here. Sword not being willing to take a backward step though. Gets some ride time of his own, and then we see Sword kind of with a chicken wing goes for the body slam and hits that pretty aggressively well, and Sword manages a couple of maneuvers. We then see the hard shots by Sword into the midsection, and again we kind of see a Irish whip and a huge running tackle and a neck breaker, 1, 2, 3 out the I guess you'd say out the back door, and Sword gets the victory. So I don't know if they're bringing him in to do more. He's not a major part of December, but he might be part of January. Who knows? John King and Tony Torres is your, I guess, final match of the program here. King is not a guy that I know much about. Torres has been around the area for a while, and some good, I guess you'd say, arm dragging and real simple basics here in the next little while. Side headlock takeover, and again, a lot of good stuff there. And ultimately, an Irish whip, some kicks behind the knee, and Torres kind of gets a release body slam on King. Torres then comes up and kind of a little bit more aggressive and assertive, gets an armbar, and we're closing in on the end of the program. So again, these are matches that Bill Watts books in a standby role. That's the role they're meant to be, and he's, I guess you'd say, happy enough with them, right? Roll up and several actual roll ups there as we close out the program with a body slam there, and King managing to send the guy up with a backdrop as we close the program. We'll be back with more right after this.